the things that we did was we attended my family reunion. And it was good to, see everybody and get to know people and meet people we hadn't known in a long time, or seen in a long time. But one of the things we did was we watched the fight. So we had like this whole day that my auntie had planned, and at night we were going to go to see jazz and all this stuff. But of course, the men in the room were like, we want to see the fight.
Of course.
Let's watch the fight. And so we kind of improvised and set up the fight in the hotel room. And I realized like we were watching it and I didn't really know a whole lot about what was going on. So like who was fighting?
So you had Bud Crawford, you had Errol Spence. Two great fighters. Both undefeated. I think they both were undefeated. But they were at the top of their game. This was a fight for essentially the pound for pound champion in boxing. And as we all know now, it was a landslide victory for Bud Crawford. He won. Go ahead.
And so like obviously I don't know a ton about that. But it was brought to my attention later on when I was having a conversation with my brother about how everyone has been like mocking and clowning and making fun of the fact that he lost, even though before this everybody considered him to be great.
One of the best in the game.
Yeah. And so I feel like there are so many instances in our lives that we can tie to that. Like how many people do we have around us when we're winning, when we're at the top of our game? Everybody wants to attach themselves to you. They want to be related to you. That's my cousin, my best friend. Right. But then we have that moment where maybe we didn't get a victory this time. And then you start to see how people might back away. People suddenly start talking about the things they didn't like about you when they was just rocking with you the week prior, right?
They leave you by yourself and they put you on an island as if you weren't who you were a week ago. You wasn't just winning. And you end up in a season, in a down season. But even in that down season, you haven't lost who you are. And I think we have to remember that in life, you're still that champion that you were, even after you take that loss. Just because you have one loss, it doesn't take away from anything else that you've accomplished. Yes, I made a mistake here, but you're still qualified. And I think that's the thing that we miss in life. Like, just because something went wrong, it doesn't mean that you're not qualified. You're still qualified for whatever you have and for whatever is coming to you.
And I think this world is so like trendy. Like we just want to hop on the trend. We want to be attached to whoever's winning. Not realizing that at some point in all of our lives, we will have wins and we will have losses. Yeah. And we will pray and hope that the people who are surrounded us, they don't disappear the minute we take a loss. Like, and also that one loss doesn't mean that you're a failure or that you failed. Like the fact I find it amazing when people want to critique something that about somebody that they would never do.
Yeah. Like
you want to get in there and talk about how bad somebody failed, or you want to clown or make fun of their face or whatever. But like 99.9% of us could never even get in that ring in the first place. And that goes for everything in our life. Like you can go to a show and watch people on stage and talk about how bad the show is, but you're not in the show.
You're not in the show.
You didn't put in the practice. You didn't put in the work.
Do you even have the skills to? What even qualifies you to have an opinion on it? Right? You have all these people. You make a mistake. You slip and fall during your routine, but you got two left feet, and you sitting here talking and joking about this person that slipped and fall. At least they were on the stage. Like you don't even have the qualifications to get on the stage.
And I think so many things like in sports, whether it's boxing, football, but so much of that ties into our regular life.
Yeah.
Like the amount of effort that it takes to become great in anything, sports specifically, the amount of practice, the amount of time, the amount of blood, sweat, and tears. And like for one loss to make people think you're disqualified, to me is just like, it doesn't make any sense.
Usain Bolt once said, I trained 4 years for a 9-second race.
And the average person is not even going to train that long.
Right. The average person gives up. It's funny. So I coach football, and I had a kid come up to me the other day, and he had never played football before in his life. Never. And it's like the third day of practice, and he's frustrated with himself because he's not grasping the concept, and he's not progressing like that. He's just not, he's not getting it. And he came up to me, he was like, man, I'm about to quit because I'm frustrated because I don't get it. Like, I don't get it. What are we doing this for? It's not connecting. And he said, I feel like I suck. I said, man, you're supposed to suck. Like, you've been doing this for 3 days. And this generation, and I mean, even us today, sometimes in some situations, we forget that nothing happens overnight. Like, it's a process, and we have to trust that process. Hey, if I'm coming out to play this sport, I got to put in time and seconds. I got to learn the sport. I got to understand it. I got to practice it. And as time goes along, I'll begin to progress, and I'll begin to understand what I'm doing. But it's not just going to happen overnight. Like, this kid over here didn't get, this senior over here that's all state and all district, it didn't happen overnight for him. It took years. It took youth football. It took middle school football. It took a coach saying, hey, get your grades straight. It took another coach saying, hey, you run funny. Fix how you run. And it's a process.
Yeah, and I think it's all of that to say, like, because it's a process, because you have to work so hard, don't ever let anybody come in and try to disqualify you over a failure. Like, the fact that you have lost once, one, means you showed up and that you tried. And two, means that you're going to do nothing but learn and grow. And I think there's also beauty in failing. Sometimes there's beauty in losing. One, because I think it highlights who's truly in your corner. Like, you know, when they're boxing and they go in their corners and they got trainers, coaches, whatever they're called, right? But imagine if those people was like, oh, you're losing, and they walked away. And oh, no, you're going to clean up your own face. You're going to do whatever else they supposed to do. You're going to get your own water because you lost. No, you want the people who were in your corner to know, like, whether I got to pull you up out of this ring and put you on my back, I still got your back. Yeah. You know, I'm still on your side, whether you win or lose. And I think that is the beauty in that certain situations in our lives help us highlight and see, like, these are people who are in my corner. This is my team. These are my coaches. These are my trainers. And I think that's what I realized about this situation with him. It's like, dang, everybody can be on your side and have your back, and, oh, he's the best, he's the best, he's the best. And then you lose and you're a meme and everyone's joking. And it's like all fun and games until that's you. Right. But most importantly, I don't think you should never feel bad about losing when you came to fight. Right. When you showed up to the fight, you didn't run, you didn't punk out, you trained, you did everything you could. Then there's no shame in losing, but also it's just like a life lesson for all of us. And like, sometimes we will win and sometimes we will lose. And when you lose, pay attention to the people who suddenly don't want anything to do with you. And when you win, make sure that you riding with the ones who had your back when you did lose. Right. And know that there's not anybody in this life who can tell you that you're disqualified for something just because you have failed in it. So many people, basketball players, all these other people who talk about how Michael Jordan didn't make the team or whatever it was. Like, imagine had he quit or had he stopped. Everybody has their own opinion on your life, your purpose, your calling, how good you are now, how good you will be. But nobody has the ability to stop you from continuing on with what you're doing.
Nobody except you. And you have to understand, just because you lose in this season, it doesn't mean that your story is over. Yeah, Michael Jordan didn't make varsity freshman year, but he played freshman, and then he went on to become one of the arguably the greatest ever. Right? Your story right now it's not the end of your story. It's a part of your story. And that chapter that page is going to turn. That chapter is going to end and a new chapter will begin. And when that chapter ends and that chapter begins, you should not be at the same spot. But whether you're at that same spot is up to you, your dedication, your perseverance, and how you push through. Errol Spence, he lost that fight, But he already signed they signed that contract saying, hey, we fighting 2 anyway. It don't matter what happens here. So he has a complete opportunity already written, already scheduled for him to redeem himself. And that's the beauty in the situation. He can come back, and as bad as he lost that first fight, and as much of a meme as he is, he can come back in this next fight and knock Bud out.
And I also think it's important to know that redemption doesn't always mean winning again. Redemption can sometimes be how you handle the loss.
That's true.
And I feel like that sometimes too. Sometimes we lose. And there's not always a way we may not get a chance to fight the person again. If we're talking about life, sometimes we didn't get the job. We lost this. You lost the child. You lost this, whatever. Loss is not always about you immediately get to just do it again. Or sometimes you get to redeem yourself. It's about how you handle the loss, how you grow from the loss, and how you move forward. And I think in something like this instance, with this boxing situation, it was just a small snippet of what a lot of people go through in their daily life of dealing with failures and sometimes feeling like you're alone while you do it. And you're walking through that season by yourself. And so I think the true redemption is coming out on the other side. Yeah, I'm the butt of your jokes. Yeah, go ahead and laugh. Yeah, go ahead and do this. But the person I am on the other side of my failure, that is ultimately the true win.
Yeah.